Hey y'all, welcome to World Cup Interviews, the best place to get insight to the players of the competitive scene of Horus Heresy Legions. My name is Varuna. I'm a member of the Brotherhood, one of the top 10 performing lodges out there. I also make guides on YouTube. Joining me today we have Team Canada, which consists of their captain Pirate Lahaie and teammates LCFR and Grumpy Ghostz. They are the winners of the World Cup. First off, congratulations on coming in first place. How are you guys feeling at this time?
Hey, thank you for having us. Feeling great. I mean, winning it all feels amazing. After such a long journey, almost 5 months of tourney, it feels amazing to win it all. It's an indescribable feeling. It's amazing.
It's a 5 to 6 month grind, so when it's finally over, there's some satisfaction no matter what place you come in. But obviously when it's finally over and you've scored the gold, you really feel like you've spent your time well.
Yeah, absolutely. Well put there. It's a relief, and I think we're getting close to a 5 or 6 month period to the next World Cup. But yeah, feels good.
So how did each of you come up with your usernames?
Mine's really simple. It's just an old pirate legends from French side of the sea and stuff like that. Just found it cool. No one had a name like that, so I just, took it for mine. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Simple as that, but it's efficient. It's fun, so it's cool.
I've had my username since I was about 11 or 12. I couldn't tell you where I came up with it, but for some reason when I was 11 or 12, I thought that a Z at the end of everything was rad. So I've just kept it. I've had a few people from different games and communities I've been in that know me as that name. So it's just never been able to change. I'm almost 30 now. So we're coming up on almost 20 years of using it. So it's not going to change anytime soon either.
And LCFR, I assume that's an initialism for something?
Fortunately, I'm under a contractual obligation with an entity not to ever say it out loud, lest any of you yokels gain true power over them. So, no comment.
Okay. I was not expecting that, but I'll take it. So let's get right into Warlord picks. Pirate, you chose Karn, Ahriman, and Neret Kyrene. Later on, you substituted Ahriman for Astalan. Tell us about these picks.
Those were all picks I was very comfortable with. Karn, Ahriman, Kyrene, all wars I'm very good with. I went with all of those during the whole World Cup. I never lost with Kyrene in the whole tournament, not one game. So it was pretty solid for me, but my usual stuff was going Ahriman and Karn. Karn lost me a couple of games because it's mostly RNG, but Ahriman was always solid. So when the nerf happened a couple of weeks ago, I had to drop him because I did some testing. I saw what he does now. It wasn't good for the tournament, so I had to switch to Astalan, which is another pick that I'm very good with. So this is why I made the change. Otherwise, I would have kept the whole thing if there hasn't been a nerf there. So this is why I got those picks there, bud.
And what was the reasoning for picking Astalan to replace Ahriman?
Mostly because he's just as versatile as Ahriman. He doesn't have the broken special card, but he has a lot of versatility that you can use to, remove troops, burst damage, control, just a very good warlord to do pretty much anything and, just surprise your opponent with some very good teching. So this is why I took him.
LCFR, you picked Canis Vertex, Horus Lupercal, and Luther. Further into the tournament, you substituted Luther for Sigismund, and then Sigismund for Aristide Nassau. Tell us why you picked these.
Yeah, great question. So, Canis was my go-to for the last World Cup. I don't really enjoy playing him on the ladder just because of how long the games are, but I really believe that in a tournament setting, well, obviously Canis is just fucking amazing, okay? So let's just be clear about that. Totally busted, so don't need to shy away from that truth. But, it's having a longer game in a tournament setting, it's a little bit more appropriate than grinding somebody for 15 minutes. Sometimes on the ladder, it's not very enjoyable. The tournament setting, you get to have some more fun because you and your opponent are going to play the best of three and just enjoy whatever you're playing. And Canis, yeah, he's totally over the top. I would play him around game one of every match except for the finals because he's completely demoralizing. I think he lost one game. He lost maybe one game this tournament. And on the subject of losses, actually, I wanted to say, Pirate, it's Kyrene that you won your War Master with. Is that correct?
That is not correct. I started with Lahaie and Ahriman, and then the Knights came out. So I bought the full collection of Knights and ended the last week with Knights.
Nice. Okay, so Ahriman was involved in there. I knew some aspect of your team was from your War Master quest. Okay. Yeah, so Canis, we talked about the factions that we thought would be appropriate to fit into the team, because we needed 9 different factions, right? I've played the World Cup before, and so I took last picks, basically. And I was quite content with that. We kind of had a framework for what warlords were best to play. There were multiples we could all play. I really wanted to play somebody psychic, so Canis was my go-to because Pirate had Airman locked down, and I just love playing Canis to open up a tournament match because he just crushes folks. Even Lehman Russ. It doesn't matter who you put in front of him. We talked about Horace Byrne being good on the team, just being good against a lot of different opponents. So Horace was the best fit for that. Not normally a mainstay for me. I've played him competitively in the past, a few patch iterations ago, so he's very different now. But Pirate had developed a deck not long ago that focused very heavily on Astartes. That saw a lot of success. So we toned down a little bit on the burn. We played the hard burn, obviously, right? Like, you do the smart stuff and put cheap burn in there, but we added lots of Astartes and drop pods with Marks of Chaos. Not Marks of Chaos main in the deck, obviously, right? But it gets pretty wild and ugly, right? It's a pretty cool deck. And then the third choice, I wanted to bring something a little bit different. I played a lot of team tournaments in the past, and I kind of wanted to just loosen up instead of playing the clear sort of tier 1 stuff. I thought, let's go out on a limb here. And I was playing a successful Luther deck that was playing in the 4300s, maybe cresting top 50 with maybe more time and effort. But he was seeing success, and I was having a lot of fun playing him. So I thought, if nobody's going to take Defenders of Caliban, I'll take Luther. I dropped Luther because even after our first 3 successful rounds, my own successful matches, Luther was still had yet to win a game. And in the group stages, you play all 3 games of the set, and Luther had yet to win one. So I thought 3 games in with the opportunity to change, let's change. I changed to Sigismund again because I wanted to kind of walk on the wild side and do something a bit wacky. I was having fun with Terra expansion. And after a couple rounds, he wasn't as bad as Luther, but he did lag a little bit in the group stages for me. So when we did have the opportunity finally coming into the finals to switch one more time, I thought, okay, let's just take Custodes because I can pilot them very, very well. They're super strong and super versatile. Any warlord who has the ability to play hide and seek, honestly, until he finds his win con, is pretty damn powerful. And so that's why finally I settled on Nassau.
So one thing I think is at least curious to me is that I think when Desperate Defense finally got nerfed, I was kind of puzzled by Canis staying on your team because a lot of people kind of associate Canis's dominant in the rank ladder with Desperate Defense. Did you have a non-traditional Canis deck, or did you feel that Desperate Defense didn't really impact your ability to win with him?
Yeah, it didn't really impact my ability to win with him. And when we started off the group stage, we talked as a team very, very deliberately about the real possibility that Desperate Defense would be nerfed over the course of the tournament. So we all made a choice to choose warlords on our rosters that wouldn't be negatively affected by it. And I actually treated Canis as one of them. I did play Desperate Defense until it was nerfed, because Desperate Defense on top of the Titan was very, very, very oppressive, unless you happen to have the right answers. You'd ramp up to 10, drop 2 monsters, and even if you had, beaten some of my weapons, you're going to get killed by Coriel Zeth and God knows what else gets pulled. Without Desperate Defense, though, I was fortunate for the change, I guess, because I got to drop the lagging Warlord Luther at the time, or maybe it was Sigismund, God only knows. But Canis, no, at first I thought even about still playing one copy of DD. I thought, oh, that's cool. I'll still fish a monster out. But it really had lost so much of its oomph. I was playing a lot of high-cost troops still. So what I did was I leaned back into a more classic Canis where you play board control. You still eventually ramp up to play monsters, right? That's still how you win. But in the meantime, you can play value 5-drops like Skitarii Protector, Duke Mortimer. You can play the Mortar Carriers, which I played from the beginning too. And I finally scored Forbidden Protocols, finally. So I'm like, let's throw that in there. Yeah, he purrs just fine. Some control warlords who go really late can really fuck with you because they have hard removals because they're not a shitty neutral faction, and they have monsters, so you could get hurt. Yeah, one of my opponents, because Germany's Konstantin Valdor, pox on him. No, beautiful man, actually. He knew that I played Canis opening every single round of the tournament. So smart man does the smart thing. He tools up his Horus game 1 to smash the fucking shit out of me, right? It's also why you have to open with Canis, because if you leave him for last, you can tech him to death. right? And so, and I start off cocky, I taunt and everything, and it's 7 turns later, and it's alternate Horus, and he just drops this line so beautifully while I'm basically limbless and defenseless. He says, "So, how do you think it's going so far?" And I basically conceded the next turn. Yeah, but well played, right? Like Canis is super powerful when you're not expecting him. But when you know that a Warlord Battle Titan is headed your way and you have a chance to prepare your defenses, it's just like Batman and Superman in the comics. Batman fucking smokes the bastard every time. He has to cheat. He's got to tech in kryptonite. He's got to tech in explosives. He's got to threaten to fucking kill civilians. Like, crazy things can happen, but he defeats Superman, right? And that's how you defeat Canis as well. So yeah, long story short, the blue and gold machine is still pretty awesome with applied and surgical use. His weapons are expensive, but he has a lot of firepower, right? And so played wisely, he's pretty versatile still. So there was no worry about that, because like I said, we planned going into it that if DD got nerfed, Canis would continue.
Grumpy Ghost, you chose Perturabo, Ralduron, and Corswain with no Warlord changes. Tell us about these picks.
I like my first captains. I like those 35 health warlords that have a nifty ability that usually is what consistently through turn by turn is getting you tempo and winning the game. I played until I started to get better and get a collection. I was playing Forge for the longest time, and I just like that middle ground where it's not like I have a 30 health and an absurd ability, like a Chaos Spawn, or a 25 health and an absurd ability. Or it's not like I'm a Primarch where things are maybe a little bit slower or a little less impactful, but I get to play both with the cards and with my Warlord. So Perturabo, you started with. So he was because we needed a Perturabo. It was just agreed upon across that, like, we really needed one. And at the time of the tournament starting and qualifying rounds and going into the group stage, I did not have a single copy of Drilling Sight, but I said, yeah, I'll be the Perturabo. I'll use Arvis Slider. I'll use some troops. I'll make it work. And the week of the tournament, picked up my drilling sights, and we were just fine and learned how to play burn really, really fast. And that seemed to work out. There was a question at the time between Perturabo, Vulcan, and Astalan for me. And it came down to Vulcan might get ruined by DD, any change to DD whatsoever. And Astalan, I was getting there with him, but I wasn't super comfortable. And LCFR had expressed some interest in Luther. And I said, you know what? Go with the crazy Luther, go with the crazy Primarch level without a reckoning, hit it up. But Perturabo was a very good choice. I think throughout the entire tournament, he won me consistently the most games within matches. Corswain had just come out at the time with the Caliban expansion, was very fresh. The ability to this day is incredible. Even the changes we had a couple months ago to Dark Angels didn't really destroy his playstyle. It just changed it, made it more troop-based. And that was just fine in the tournament. There was no changes. I won, if not with Perturabo, the most matches, it was with Corswain. And Ralduron is because of the Blood Angel card pool. We had to have that in some way. I played Ralduron, stealing a few people's decks. I remember Rexgalt being one that I definitely stole his deck and subbed in what I didn't have. And I'd been playing him well before I even knew about World Cup. So I was really, really comfortable with Ralduron. I found that throughout the tournament, especially in the group stage where the Warlords were a bit more varied and a bit more diverse, that laid back style of I'm going to control your board, maybe buff my troops with a few pings, and then start getting my big stuff around like 5, 6, 7, 8 energy. It didn't play out the way I wanted. He was very predictable in certain ways. And so even bouncing around red thirst builds that were odd and really burst out at like 4 energy, it didn't really work. And even that said, I think it was the semifinal that Ralduron finished that set off, just beating a Commando. He just did everything right. Every single draw was perfect. I got Prophecy revealed on 2 troops early on, and like I wouldn't have had any other 3. When Perturabo was nerfed, there was a chance for me to maybe not take that, and that was going into the semifinals, and I didn't end up using him. I led with Corswain and then followed up with Ralduron, and I actually didn't officially play in the finals. We did an exhibition match and it was a blast, and Callian played great. But yeah, up until the nerf, Perturabo was a fantastic Warlord choice, and I wouldn't have had any of my choices any other way.
Okay, so that actually, you already answered my next follow-up question. Do you have any regrets about not changing Warlords when the opportunity came up?
Not a single one, not a damn one. It was a great time the whole way through. My biggest regret is that I got because I was practicing so much with those warlords, I got bored with them and I stopped playing Corswain on ladder up until the tournament was almost at a close. I stopped playing Raldoron on ladder almost altogether, and Proto-Rabo I couldn't even stand to look at because there were so many practice rounds getting my burn up. And again, thank you LCFR for teaching me, but just the amount of time playing these 3 warlords, prepping for these matches was a bit much, and maybe soon I'll pick them up again, but at this moment I've completely avoided them. That's maybe my one regret.
One of the reasons Grumpy was playing Proto-Rabo is that I refused to. Not
Yeah, that's right.
Not to say I would have done better, honestly, but because he played it fantastically and he was forced to play it differently because he didn't have the drilling sites that are known to give him so much extra value. He didn't have those drilling sites to work with at first. But I had played Proto-Rabo in so many team tournaments that I said, listen, Iron War Proto-Rabo should be on the team. I'm not doing it. so the buck kind of got passed to Grumpy.
I'm fine taking the sacrifice. I'm fine with it. It was a lot though. It was a lot of playing Proto-Rabo.
Yeah.
Well, to be fair, you guys gave me the choice. I was like, listen, boys, I know I can do good with those warlords. You basically gave me the first picks. So you were like, okay, what do you want to play? I was like, I want to play this, and that, and I know I'll do good. And I did good, but you guys gave me the first pick, So this is why, like, I had my dream picks, basically. I had everything I needed. And then you guys, basically together, we decided what was the best for us. And that came out great,
You all seem to get along well. Pirate, since you're the captain, what's the secret to having a team that can win the World Cup?
Honestly, chemistry is important, but I think having good communication is the key. Whenever we had something to do, we did it well. If we're talking matchups, we're talking practice, we're talking just, hey, you're facing that guy. Who are you going to go first with? Oh, I'm not sure. This and that, all that technical stuff. All that we did together, and it was always good. I've known Grumpy for a long time now, almost a year. LCFR too, almost a year. So we had already good chemistry. We could talk to each other, no problems. If something we were saying was wrong, the other guy could say, hey, man, what you're saying is not good. Like, it's not working. Let's do something different, So I think it's just very good chemistry. Find someone that you can work with, and I think it's going to go fine. You know what I mean?
I don't know. LCFR met, I think, at the start of this tournament. I knew about LCFR beforehand and was a bit starstruck by the guy that made me chuckle on his YouTube videos.
LCFR and Grumpy, what do you think of Pirate's leadership style?
He's an absolute drunk. Yeah. No, I'm just kidding. No, he was excellent. He's not cracking the whip. He's not forcing us to run trial sessions against one another, before we go into our match. Like, we're talking about best practices and best strategies, and then we're going into a game in the best headspace that we can be in. And he's such a cheery, actually really encouraging guy, right? And on top of being smart, and having a smart YouTube channel too, like a very helpful team captain. I'm down.
I had a couple of painful losses in the group stage, and it was really nice to go back into our little group chat and say, guys, I'm sorry. And then there's Pirates saying, do not worry about it, man. There's the next one. We'll get you ready. It was just, there was never a moment of negativity. It was all like, how are we going to do the best we're going to do, and what can we do with where we are now, and how can we make it better in the next round or the elimination phase.
So before or during a match, do you do anything to help you reduce anxiety or stress?
That's a great one. Stay hydrated. But I tried a few things. Like early on, there's a forest by my house. I'd go in there and get in the really quiet area and just kind of try and be zen. But I found that if things started going wrong, it was the wrong environment. For me, it's pacing. My neighbors know me now because I was pacing the blocks every single match, just over and over again, same route, because I'm looking at my phone and not actually even looking up. And that seemed to just movement seemed to make it better. And that may just be particular to me. But yeah, the leading up into matches, we would say, okay, so how is this person going to do it? How are you going to handle this? What about when they bring this out? And having that information definitely takes some of the stress out.
Be careful asking me how I unwind going into a match. You may not like the answer.
I omitted some things.
No, I mean genuinely. Okay, so I'll say this as someone who I belong to the Emperor's Children Legion, so I'm known to partake. Play the play your tournaments straight edged and sober, you really don't get better results. Typically don't get better results when you're buzzed or wasted. So play sober. Get the most out of your tournament experience. Play in your best headspace. Yeah, Pyro doesn't believe in that philosophy. But I become the Emperor's Children who stumbles over his own feet if he's just too bagged up. But I like to play music. I like to play music when I go into the match. I like to make sure my opponent knows that that we're gonna have a good time one way or the other. Whoever wins, whoever loses, are both gonna get to finish, and that's an awesome thing. I think that's it. What about you? Grumpy goes to the woods. Yeah, if I had better reception outdoors, I think I would probably love to play in the woods too. But that's another thing I do. I go somewhere where I know I have solid reception, or I switch to data, because dropping a tournament match to a bad connection, that's balls.
Yeah, there were a couple of times I was running out of that forest to try and just get a signal at all costs. Yeah.
Yeah, and then your peace of mind is shattered, and then a pleasant experience just becomes unnecessary. So you want to keep it simple for yourself and have little creature comforts for yourself. But there's only so much prep you can do. Like a match could be typically is far less than an hour for the most part. I like to play Massive Attack while I play. If I'm playing pure aggro, I like to play Metallica. That's about it. Change up the music and just go into it. Go into it with a good headspace, ready to have some fun.
Well, for me, boys, it's fairly easy. I crack open, let's say like 4,000 or 5,000 beers. I drink those in like maybe 30, 45 minutes. I get into my mindset, and then I just pop out whatever, gothic or like, really just music that is just people like going, I just listen to that, and I'm ready, man. And I just go into the matches, keep the beers going, and work so far. So this is it for me, boys. It's fairly easy, simple.
Be surprised.
Yeah.
It's whatever makes you comfortable.
Are you surprised that you were able to get first place? If not, how far did you think you'd get?
It's always a surprise in this game for me to get first place. So yeah, I was surprised. I'm always a bridesmaid for the most part. And I think I expected us to get out of the group stage 100%. I lost the opening game in our match against Germany, and I thought, I was like, fuck, that's it. We're going down to the Germans. We lost to the fucking Germans. But we pulled it through, and that was fine.
I knew we were going to win it. I always knew the whole way through. I mean, there were moments, but I know that we were going up against some incredible players, and going into it, I felt very inadequate. I still feel inadequate, but every stage of the way that we got further, it was a surprise in itself.
As for me, really, boys, I always knew we were going to get out of the group stage. I thought we were going to go far. The only doubt in my mind is when I lost to Spellbreaker against Asia. This is the only time where I was like, fuck, because this was my first loss. So I was like, God damn. Like, in my mind was like, can those guys carry me? Can those guys, pull us out of this and just, bring us to the next level? And you guys did it. That was my surprise. I was surprised that, I knew how Spellbreaker was hard, but you guys carried us to the next round, and that was the most important because those guys were the favorite to win it all. So you guys actually beat the favorite and bring us to the next level. So this was my only surprise. When I lost, I was like, fuck, man, we're in trouble. But then you guys pulled it off. So yeah, that's it.
After Grumpy Ghostz saved each of us in elimination rounds, Germany and Asia, when he won it in game 3 and closed the deal, I think after he did it twice, I was like, yeah, we could win. We could definitely win.
Yeah. Those were I'd say the most stressful times of this entire tournament. Yeah. I unfortunately pushed my matches to last, and it was just schedules with my opponents didn't work out, and it upped the stress as much as I could imagine.
Were you surprised by any team not being in the top 4?
Russia's gonna go first for me.
Russia was my pick for first.
Yeah, Russia won last year, so I was very surprised. They still had a good lineup. But I was surprised that they didn't even make the groups out of the group stage. I was very surprised. This is one of my biggest surprises of the tournament is Russia did not make it out. That's it.
A lot of Group A was a lot of Group A. A lot of teams on Group A were doing some great stuff. Great teams in Group B. Every team we came across, I'd say there were these incredible nuggets of skill and talent, and so I can't say either way who I'm surprised didn't or did make it into the finals.
Russia, Ukraine, any country that would have host to 3 players from the Russian playing area, because those in my mind are by average like the best players in the game. That's just where you'll find the biggest pool of the best players. And so that Russia, Ukraine, and I think there was a third country as well. It might have even been Kazakhstan or an association of a few other countries. I was surprised that none of them made it out of the group stages, but Russia really floored me. Russia
the
really,
Nordics looked really good too. The Nordics were a really solid group too.
How did the games played during the group stage differ from the games you played in the semifinals and finals?
For me, it's easy. The point system. When you play for points, it's very different from when you play for wins. Because when you play for points, you always have to keep in mind that you're probably going to have to play your 3 warlords. Which means if you win the first 2, then on the third one, your opponent knows exactly what you're doing. Which means it's more likely it's a loss. Which means, you're not getting 9 points, you're getting 6 instead. So, in my opinion, that's the biggest difference we had between playoffs and the group stage. So, at the end of the day, I'm glad that playoffs were decided by wins and not points. I'm not a big fan of points, but I can see the use of it for breaking ties and stuff. So, yeah, that's it.
I'm a big fan of points because I didn't get a 9.30 win in the group stage, but I also didn't get 3-0'd myself. So it balanced out for me. I was able to at least get 1 win out of each and get us 3 points, which I think, those little increments definitely helped. I mean, I would have liked to get the 9 points, but the 3 were nice too.
Nailed it. In my mind, it's really just about warlord roster order, your likelihood of getting that third game in. You would go into a best 2 of 3 with a very different warlord order in mind than if you were going into a match where you're playing all 3 games, right? So it does change that dynamic, and like he says, it does become more likely that if you've won the first 2 games, you're more likely to lose that third game because they've got free range to just pick the best warlord suited for that match, tech as much as they want, and go from there. Whereas in a best 2 of 3 finals, for example, the warlord that I thought, my warlord on my team, Horus, who I thought would be weakest against France, I didn't play at all. And if I had to play Horus, I would not have won the game. Or if that was a point system, those would not have been points earned, right? So that's really the big change. And pressure.
Yeah, I don't know how different it would have been if I would have had to take my nerfed Perturabo against B-side. I think that would have been a scary prospect, but didn't have to play him, so that was great.
So during my interview with Zacharias, who of course you guys know is the tournament organizer, we found out that the 3 most common warlords were Horus Lupercal, Perturabo, and Ahriman. Are you surprised by this? If so, who would you have expected in their place?
I'm not surprised. Maybe Horus is a bit of a surprise for me, but that's just because I don't play Sons of Horus. I came in a bit later. I think at the time the tournament was coming out, there were Defenders of Caliban and a few other more adjusted warlords to where we were in the game. But then again, I don't know how great it feels to drop a Vengeful Spirit on someone in ladder. So Horus maybe makes sense, but that would be the surprise for me. Perturabo and Ahriman, they don't shock me, but I think maybe I would have thought the Coursewayne would have been a bigger choice. He's so streamlined and so adaptable with the Dark Angels card pool. I think maybe he should have been a little more represented. Thought I could represent him a little bit.
Not surprised at all. All of those 3 boys are very versatile, very good. Before the nerf, obviously, best choices. Not surprised. All of those were in almost every team. Not surprised at all.
I don't know how effective some of them proved to be in the final equation. I think a lot of Horuses probably started falling down because, there were tons of less popular but different kinds of more defensive warlords that could be a bit of a problem for him. But no, it was like having Sons of Horus, Iron Warriors, and Thousand Sons was something that almost any team that was really serious about winning would have considered to put on their squad. So it doesn't really shock me that they were the popular ones. Grumpy thinks Coursewayne should be the most popular one because he's a Caliban kid. Like you grew up in competitive scene in Caliban, so get off your fucking Doom planet, dude. Like there's a whole other galaxy out there.
I mean, like with this legendary card, maybe I'll pick Vengeful Spirit and be able to play it again. But until then.
Yeah, actually, yeah.
Out of all the warlords you chose, which one performed the best and which one performed the worst?
Can't perform the best. Total Rockstar pick, opened every match but the finals with him, and I think he only lost about maybe once. Worst, aside from obviously Luther, who got subbed out, Horace started getting moved to being my third pick Warlord, because he is difficult to tech against. He just throws burn against you, but at the same time in the group stages, he would buckle on a lot of third games because they'd have full range, like I said, of the most defensive Warlord, and then they tech a bit against Horace. So Horace started to fall down in the end, and he didn't even get played in my finals because he was not a favored matchup there.
I'm all in all, like looking at the group and the elimination stage together, I gotta say the Raldoron performed the worst. It just, in the group stage, like I said, there were some tempo issues and it just didn't mesh with some of the Warlords I was seeing. And I wouldn't have taken him out because he did so well in the elimination stage, but maybe I should have played him less in the group stage. And like, I'll say it again because I am a Caliban board. Coursewayne was great. I didn't see a lot of matchups that I was the most scared with Coursewayne. And Perturabo was a learning curve, but also kind of in the middle. He the nerf, I have to recognize and say that like that hurt, but I didn't actually feel the pain because I didn't play him in the semifinals.
It's very easy for me, boys. Astalon, when I swapped to him, I got my ass fucked up by Arsenal, like bad. I got like, if you checked my video on YouTube, I got super destroyed. That was my one match with him. So yeah.
Double endurance, very bad.
Yeah, double endurance in a row was really bad. So yeah, I got super fucked. This was, I guess, the worst because I didn't even win with him. So yeah, and for the best, Kirain, like I said earlier, I did not lose a match with him. And I played him in every playoff games. So yeah, clutch boy for me. Very clutch.
Was there any Warlords that you guys did not pick that might have thrived in the World Cup semifinals or finals?
No, I doubt it. I doubt it. No. I don't think we... Honestly, I think we went with the best we had. Yes, we had one... As a team, we had one or two picks that were like a bit more on the iffy side, but overall, no. I don't think it would have made any difference. I think we chose exactly what we needed as a team.
Just out of curiosity, what were those two iffy picks?
Well, Luther and Sigismund from LCFR were very iffy.
Yeah. I was going to say, I can answer that. I know what the iffy picks are.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's it.
I think for my part, actually going into the finals, strangely enough, if I had a Mortarion, and I mean, I 2-0'd the finals, so it wasn't a big deal, but I played a very aggressive team, and I played against a very defensive roster, and I feel like having even more super control over the guys I was facing would have been fun and hilarious. I actually think Mortarion could have done well in this tournament, and he's done well in the past in tournaments just because, you know, he's got a path to victory, he can stun, so he blocks a lot of solo Warlords, but no, other than that, I felt pretty good. I wish I picked Nassau from the start. Sorry, I wish I didn't pick the iffy picks.
You're being creative.
So during the World Cup, you were forced to play under several balance patches. What problems did this create for you, and which patch was the hardest to deal with?
Easy for me, only the Ironman one. Yes, people would say you picked Karn for DD, but not really. I know how Karn works. Back then, people were not playing him as much as right now. I'm speaking March, so it's been a while. I was very confident with that. So no, just the Ironman killed him. So Ironman patch killed him. That's the only thing that changed my game set, because otherwise I was set.
Yeah, I was good with the whole way through. I don't think there was anything I wanted to change. Well, the patches have affected a lot of people other than us, but like LCFR said earlier, that we were talking about Vulcan, we were talking about other DD Warlords that we maybe want to avoid or at least have a backup plan for. So they didn't really hit me. And like I've said, I think before, like I didn't even play Proto-Op in the semifinals. So that nerf, which came right before that, had an option, you know, do you want to change? And I didn't really care because at the same time, he has a good troop-based build. But yeah, that could have hurt if I was going to play him more. But I didn't see any patches that hurt me, at least.
I just used the patches as opportunities to get slightly less iffy Warlords along the course of the tournament. You know, that's all the patches were to me.
So for those who don't know, the grand prize for first place was any legendary card you want, 3,000 gold, and a special card back. What you guys plan to pick for the legendary card?
Yeah, I've been looking over it the last couple of days and trying to bounce it around. I started around Malevolence, and so I am still missing some big swaths in my collection. Like I don't have Vengeful Spirit. I don't have Kaizu Lane. I've got a few, so I really have too many options at this point. I'm leaning toward Kaizu Lane because he's an auto-include in a lot of builds, but I have never had to use him, so I don't really know how good he is at this point. It's still kind of up in the air for me.
Oh, well, I have full collection, so I'll just probably give my legendary to someone in Masterclass that needs it more than me. That's it. I mean, by the way, folks, for those who are listening, play tournaments, and by the way, if someone wins that as a full collection, unless he picks an alt card back, he has the opportunity to give you, someone legendary card. So that's what I'll do. I'll just give my legendary card to someone that needs it in Masterclass. That's it.
Oh, that's really nice of you, huh?
I think I'm just missing Cursed Wanderer and Janisha Kroll, so I guess I'm going to take Janisha Kroll.
Who was the most difficult opponent you faced in the World Cup?
It's a two-way tie. It's Konstantin Valdor, who I mentioned earlier, for teching so like such a bad motherfucker. Was so awesome the way he did it. So Valdor was one. That was the semi or quarterfinals. That was really challenging, and I've known Valdor for a while, and I've faced him many moons across the ladder. So that was a challenge. And then I think tied with that, I'm going to have to say number one for sure. And that went to 3. That's Luther buckled in game 3 against his Airman. It was a really tight, fun game. And then it was after that I changed out Luther. But 1 was a really challenging opponent. 1 was my first loss, I think, in the group stage, and was really excellent. Yeah, those were my 2 hardest opponents.
I'm really thinking about it. All of my opponents in the group stage gave me a good run for the money, whether I was getting 3 points or 6 points from them. I have to shout out to my 2 opponents that I played officially in the elimination stage, B-Side and Beer Bearer. They both played fantastically, and I was pacing, I think, about 3 or 4 blocks around my neighborhood, just getting through them. But like every opponent I played brought some fire to the match in some way.
For me, personally, last time you interviewed me, Varuna, it was Kaya Suskane, which is still, in my opinion, one of the best and stuff. But now that I beat Artonal in the final, and just for a bit of context, real quick for you guys, we had a War Master tournament in Masterclass community, maybe 8 or 9 months ago, which was basically War Master against War Master, see whose War Master is the best, right? And he beat me, and I finished 3rd place. So this was kind of a revenge for me. So beating him, and he's one of the best. Beating him felt really good in the final too, man. It was fucking incredible. So yeah, I gotta go with Artonal now. I still love Kane. He's a fucking great player, one of the best Russian player in my opinion. But beating Artonal, he's the best I beat, for sure.
Out of all the matches you played, which warlord gave you the most trouble overall?
Birch Rabo before the nerf. That's it. Because I was playing Araman, Karn, and Kirin. He's just a shit matchup for all 3 Maya warriors. So that's it. Not a lot of explaining. He's just a shit matchup for me.
I think Gabriel Santar, actually. Goddamn Iron Hands. Yeah, I think actually Gabriel Santar probably gave me the hardest time this tournament. I thought it would be Lehman Russ to open against him in the first 2 rounds, and Canis just smashed through him. It was nothing to worry about. Yeah, damn Santar. It's just so brutal, just very good against everything, grinds the hell out of you.
I do remember a couple of Korvaxes giving me some real trouble. Raven Guard with their stealth and hide and seek stuff is a pain. There were a couple of Coursewayne mirror matches I remember being really difficult. And I think in the quarterfinal, that was how we started. And it really came down to in a Coursewayne mirror who can get that early initiative, who can get some troops on the board and get a bit of a health advantage. And so that was a sweater for sure.
All right, now we're going to ask some community questions here. This first group is going to be based on the World Cup, and then we're going to go into some ones that are just about the game in general. So Zacharias asks, do you think that the matches against warlords you faced were fair? Did you encounter any one-sided matchups?
Yeah, I can't think of any one-sided matchups. I took some warlords that could adapt, and with the order that I played them, I usually could come in. I was using in the group stage Raldoron as a dipstick. It's kind of just to test the waters, see what they're going to play first, and maybe if I lose, I at least give them a win for something they're going to come out strong with. So I didn't see any warlords that consistently gave me trouble. I just kind of saw warlord choices that gave me trouble. So if the second one didn't play out that way, it was a loss in the group stage. Nothing specific though.
As for me, honestly, it was all fair. At the end of the day, it was a tournament of the best players. You get chances, they get chances. It was all fair. I got nothing to say on that. It was all good.
For my part, it was all fair. In a tournament setting, really, each warlord is going to play, maybe between about 10-ish games, right? So you kind of got to imagine, is there a warlord that you're comfortable playing a couple dailies with? Do you have a win con that you have a decent chance of getting to, right? Like, if the answer is yes, you can play him in a tournament, right? So for my part, yeah, it was all fair. It was all fair. Everybody who played had a chance to win. There weren't any totally wild warlords who I thought, oh, you poor bastard, you don't have a chance. I thought you got a fair chance.
And with especially the DD nerf, I just want to make a point. It's things like Fail, who were really relying on DD or Vulcan. That ruling really made it a little bit more fair. It gave everybody a bit of a chance to reassess what they were doing. There were some different opinions at the time, but at the end of the day, I think it was the right call. So shout out to Zachariah, sir.
Dismail asks, besides World Cup special rules, for example, some cards are bash, what's the biggest difference between competitive ladder and competitive tournament in a best-of-3 format, in terms of deck building and warlord choices?
The biggest difference is that in a ladder setting, you're playing a grind. It's not just a quality of games that you're playing, you're also playing a quantity of games. And I can let Pirate speak more to that later as a War Master himself. In a tournament setting, like I said, you're playing about a dozen games per warlord, let's say. So again, if you feel like your win rate is decent enough, or that just game to game against a random assortment of opponents, you have some warlords that you can play decently, then that's viable. Then that's all fair and doable. And in terms of prep, really, you know what warlords you're facing off against going into any given round. You know exactly who you're facing off against too. So as opposed to the ladder where you can't build a highly teched out deck on the ladder. You've got to kind of play an all-comers deck, and then you can tech some nights if you have certain guys on who you want to hunt down, let's say. But otherwise, like you can tech going into a tournament. You can plan the order of your roster. It's a meta in a microcosm, right? It becomes a little 6 warlord meta that you're looking at, right? And that's what you're designing around. So it's a much more limited scope, and you just got to play it game to game. And you're only looking at a dozen games, like I said. You don't need to score 1,000 games like you would over a season to really fly high.
Yeah, it's the same idea for me. It's take warlords that are adaptable, that you're comfortable with, that run very focused decks to what is the highest likelihood that you're going to be playing. Really think about what your opponent's going to play and what order, and how you can throw in neutral cards or even faction cards that are going to counter that playstyle.
Yeah, as for me, LCFR said it well. On ladder, it's very, very different. The win rate's important, but how fast you can play a game is, I would say, it's the most important thing. You cannot play Mortarion on ladder and expect incredible result because every game takes so long. But you can play Mortarion in tournament and expect great result because the time doesn't matter. You tech your decks. This is how it works. You know who you're facing. It's 2 different worlds, really, but both are fun. I like ladder because it's all about surprising your opponent with a new deck, a new top 50 deck you build or you craft. And in tournament, it's all about mind game. I'm going to play this guy first. He's going to play that guy first. What am I going to do? So it's 2 different worlds, both very nice. I like both of those, but it's 2 different experience. And I wish everyone would try those. It's nice. It's really fun, man. It's a lot of fun.
How would you rate warlord picking, deck building, in-game skill in terms of hand/board management and decision making, and luck in a tournament such as this one?
I mean, luck is everything. If you don't give the correct sacrifices to RNGesus, it's not going to work out for you, like, whatever you do. Warlord choices are always going to start things off, but I do believe that with most warlords in this game, you can tech something specifically to take on most other opponents. I mean, there's obviously hard counters. I'm not going to say that there aren't, but yeah, I think the warlord choice, if you have something adaptable enough, you're not going to really have too many troubles. And then it all comes down to, maybe I'd put the in-game playing and ranked around 3rd. It starts with your deck. If you don't have a good deck going in, great players could play it, but they play better with a great deck.
I think I understand very well the question. Let me quote my boy here, Vapix, the best YouTuber for this game. It's fairly simple in my opinion. It's 50% deck building, 25% luck, and 25% skills. Half of the game is deck building. This is how it works too in tournament. Half of the work you do is the deck building. And then the rest is you got 25% luck, 25% skills, which is all you play stuff, how you think the opponent's going to react. That's exactly how it works. So I think that's the best answer to this question is exactly that.
That's actually a great formula. That should be a great defining formula for this game's competitive scene, whether it's tournament or ladder. 50% deck building, 25% luck, and 25% skill. And that skill relates to board management, hands, however you want to qualify it. Warlord choice, I don't think was as important, obviously, as deck building, because like we saw even in the finals, some funky warlords getting played. Like didn't expect to see Kabanda in the finals, for example, or Lionel Johnson, let's say, right? Like these decks are the brainchilds of a really awesome competitive player, Orthanol, right? And I'm sure there were some other ones if I stopped to think long enough, but. And then I want to go further with Vapix's formula to say there's some warlords that you can almost imagine it, they stretch that 25% ratio one way or the other. So some warlords, yeah, it's 50% deck building, but then there's some warlords who definitely lean into a little bit more skill. Let's say there's less RNG in their faction, or there's less RNG in their game plan. Obviously, there's still the luck of drawing cards at the right time in the right place, but they require a little more skill. Meanwhile, there's some warlords who push it the other way, and they're simply just a little bit more luck dependent. But I definitely think that 50% of it coming down to deck building is pretty apt. Right, it's a great formula, and so I would say that was totally the case in this tournament, because if you were able to review the list of warlords that were in the finals, it would probably be considerably more diverse than we might imagine, and that's usually the case for warlord rosters in these big team tournaments. Your people are really, they're surprised. Or I used to share decks in the past from the tops, right? And they'd be surprised and they say, but how can I translate this into the ladder? And like Pirate said, sorry, like you can't really translate 15, 20-minute games into a high score, right? Unless you really have a lot of time.
Just out of curiosity, what would be an example of a warlord that's more skill-based, and what would be an example of a warlord that's maybe a bit more luck-based?
Karn is luck-based, Karine, mostly luck-based as well. If you're talking pure skill, you need someone that has an ability that is exactly what the description is. There's a lot of those. I'm talking warlord like R, from the Orphans of War, or I'm talking warlords like even Jurak Rask, who beat my ass. Those are some skillful warlord.
Yeah, Derek Rask, high skill.
Yeah, but maybe I would say 25% of the all warlord base requires very high skills, and the rest is mostly deck dependent or luck dependent. This is what I think it is.
Jormanir asks, was there a game or moment that stands out during the course of competition where you suddenly realized you could win the whole thing?
I said vicariously through Grumpy Ghost, winning match 3 of both the Germany and the Asia match after Pirate and I had each lost our own matches respectively in one of those rounds. When he closed it for the second time, that was a pretty huge moment for me. That was a really huge moment for me. And then likewise in my finals, when I got into game 3, and I realized I had chosen my third warlord correctly for that game, and I felt confident in that matchup. That was a pretty big moment as well, where I thought, okay, yeah, I got bloodied in the first game here, but I can win the third game.
For me, it was like I said, when I lost to Spellbreaker, and then later this week, I saw on my phone that Grumpy Ghost and LCFR had won. This is where I was like, well, we've passed the hardest opponent we could have had. Team Asia was the massive favorite to win it all. Massive. Rex called Beer Bearer and Spellbreaker together. That was huge. So when we passed them, I was like, fuck, we got this, Like I had very high expectation for us after that.
I mean, like, aside from LCFR's answer, for me, it was when I didn't get matched with Rex Cult, because I think that was my biggest fear of the tournament. Yeah, it was great to be able to bring it home for us for the quarter and semifinals. That was a stressful but like really, really high moment for me. And like, just to go deeper into it, I guess the semifinals, when I saw that he had B-Side had chosen Kabanda for the second match, and I was just so ready with my Welder on deck, the way I had just added a few cards that just kind of made that match was going to happen, like a Foresight, something to stop his attacks, and it just all played out exactly as I wanted. It was the best performance Worlderon could have given me in the entire tournament.
Okay, we're going to switch to some non-World Cup questions now. Cassian Van asks, who is the warlord you're secretly trying to get to work who's flying under the radar right now, let's say in terms of like ranked ladder?
At the moment, I'm maining Cambodias because he's a lot of fun. There's some great flow, and he can come out from like 6 health and still win it. And that's an obvious one though. I'll do a shout out to GMAT over at MC for turning me into a Pollux fanatic. There's an incredible build with Pollux and Kazdrak that if you can make it work, you see some of the highest numbers on attack that I've seen in the game. Imperial Fists, but are not necessarily underrated or unseen, but the weird ways of playing them are a lot of fun.
I mean, I haven't been in crazy I haven't really been in much of a ladder mode at all. Under the radar, I mean, I think it'd be cool to fly around with Magnus still, but there's not really anybody. I you know what I should say on my alt account, which probably plays around Mars. Despite having a very, very small collection, I play the Lion there, and I really do have fun playing the Lion and Dark Angels. I think they could be. I think they kind of need one more, even or decent patch, and I think more Warlords than Corswain could be really, really good. They're just missing like a touch of synergy, you know, and they could be there. They should be there. The Dark Angels are pretty sick, but that's otherwise, no, nothing for me.
Same for me. Actually, this is the first month where I'm not doing top 50 in a full year. I've been partying too much, man. I had a full month off, so I've just been everywhere but playing this game. But in the past 2 days, 3 days, I've been playing Quinsaw from the White Scars, just because there's a lot of card and shit like that. So he feels very good, man. Very fucking good. I have like over almost a bit more than a 75% win rate with him. So I'm just playing him in here and there just for fun. But right now, like I said, this was not my month. This was like my break month. So, but don't worry, I'll be back there in top 50 next month, boys. If you're listening to that, come face me and let's have some good matches, eh? I always fucking love facing you boys.
Ripin Pear asks, what warlord and what troop do you think are the best in the game right now?
Easy for me. When people see a nerf, they stay away from it. But the Knights are still very strong. I think I played 15 games in the min month. I think I lost 2. So that's 13 wins and 2 losses. I can't play Knights anymore since I played Warmaster because I played them too much. But they're obviously, even with the nerf of the cycling and stuff, obviously they're still the best faction out there. Just a lot of people, when they see a nerf, they just stop playing them. But obviously the Knights, in my opinion, are still easily the best faction in the whole game. Easily. Best troop.
Yeah.
Izakar Hor is a real piece of shit. He's a real fucker, man. Precog to all your troops and your warlord, and you get a 5/5 there? Yeah, that's some nasty shit, boys.
You know, like I don't want to have to say it again, but I love me some Corswain. He's so much fun, and I just feel so confident when I'm behind him. I'm really racking my brain for the best troop. I could tell you the best card I think is in the game, or the best tactic right now. But as far as best troop, like I'm getting a lot out of Lord Malkiel. He's a little more recent for me of a pickup, so I'm really enjoying that. I have him in most of my decks. But yeah, troop is a really, really hard one just because it really depends on the scenario for me, I guess. If it was a tactic, by the way, I would say Haranberg. I've had the most fun in this game with stupid Haranberg pulls. Like it's a lot.
Pirate's right, and this has really always been the case that warlords that break the sort of basic game mechanics or that deny some form of interaction tend to just be really fucking busted. So I think that no matter who has dropped Knights, the value in having weapons that are as versatile as what they have and having a secondary energy pool and blah blah blah. Yeah, I mean if I think them and even Canis still, just because they defy so many of the fundamentals of the game, probably would just be what would stand out as that extra oomph for best warlord. For best card, yeah, because it's just hard to think of another warlord that really, like, the rest of them kind of all exist laterally right now, you know, give or take. So there's some who are worse, like Cassian Vaughn's not the best warlord, right? I can tell you who's not the best warlord, but yeah, definitely a non-Astartes warlord, you know, anything with multiple appendages. Best troop does feel a little bit like it's Kazdrak right now, but I kind of still just want to shout out to my boy, Ambassador fucking Melgator. He's just down dirty value, always has been. Not as good as he used to be, but still just a really solid, versatile piece. Or maybe Kaizu Lane. Yeah, it's got to be Kazdrak, Kaizu Lane, or Melgator for me.
Conscious Tomato 7533 asks, do you think Night Lords needs a buff?
Yeah. I like that.
I kind of disagree with that. The only thing they need, I think, is a rework of some of the warlords, because they have some incredible legendaries. They have some good Kerbal, but they kind of miss chemistry between the warlords and the legions. I think they need to do some changes as to how warlords and the troops respond to each other's. That's it.
I would like to see Sevatar with a slight change. I don't know exactly what it is. It just feels like when I play Sevatar, I am constantly working against myself. Maybe I haven't cracked it, but I just feel like I am never able to get what he's supposed to do done, and so I tend to avoid him, and maybe that's why I'm not as versed as I should be.
Drominair had 3 questions. Which legendary warlords would you like to see a change to the reckoning in terms of how they're activated, and how would you change them?
Just change Curse. And change not just his Reckoning, but his Warlord power as well. But yeah, just change Curse. I mean, no Reckoning or Whisper should be as easy as just waiting that your turn, that the energy turn comes to it. I just think it's boring and bad design. That's it.
Yeah, I can't come up with a big one. I'll say just on a side note, congrats to Jormnir for winning the weekly tournament last week. But yeah, I can't come up with a good answer for that one, to be honest with you. I think Pirate said it pretty good.
Have a Reckoning. It just seems like a strange inconsistency for him not to. Mm-hmm. But otherwise, I mean, it's been over a year. It's been well over a year since Emperor's Children have received any kind of balance patch or love, and with the ability to much more throughout the game now to just simply choose rather than to randomly create. I would love Fulgrim's ability simply just to change to his ability to trigger perfection itself. And when he does so, he can choose. Otherwise, it's capricious and random, and just maybe some decrease to the cost. Probably a decrease to a lot of early Primarch costs, because they're so expensively prohibitive, and they're hard to trigger, and the rewards are so much more reduced than they used to be. Only gaining 5 health is kind of a kick in the nuts. So yeah, but I would love it if Fulgrim had a bit of an easier time at reducing his whispers, or some more interactions with his perfection tools. That would be nice.
In the same vein of that, I would like to see Protorabo get a balance for what was taken from him. Like, give him something in the Reckoning that lets Lord of Iron come out, because like even with a troop build, it gets a little bit in the weeds, and without that extra damage now, I don't see him being used even close to what he used to be.
Yeah, that's fair.
And what do you guys think about Rogel Doran's Reckoning? Do you think, one thing I was thinking of it, like I basically never see that whenever I'm playing him. What if they like changed it so the Reckoning would, like, instead of it was based on troops, it was based on the number of units on your side of the field, so you would at least get like 1 tick down per turn just for having Dorn out? Do you think that would be too much of a buff, or?
They need to change. They need to change Dorn first abilities. They need to change Dorn's abilities first, and then we'll talk Reckoning, because I think his abilities just trash. Rogel Dorn right now is the worst.
He is when he's garbage.
He's just bad, man. He's just fucking trash. Like, this is the kind of warlord I will never touch. I never played one game of him because he's just fucking garbage. I'm sorry. I love Rogel Dorn, but he's
not
garbage.
Interactive. Yeah, no, he is garbage.
It could be as simple as make it 3 Bastion. Make it 3 Bastion for 2 energy.
No, fuck that. This is still boring as fuck. Do something.
Give yourself a turret that lives on turn 1. I mean, like that alone maybe could start the swing, but 3 Bastion, yeah, that'd be enough. I think you'd see people play it more. I think it'd be more viable.
Give him siege ability, drop like 2 turrets with 1 Bastion or something. Whatever.
Oh,
just trash. Fucking trash, boys.
Give him siege like Perturabo.
Yeah.
Give him siege. Siege is exciting, right? Yeah.
All right. Next part of Jormanir's questions. After the balance changes to Thousand Suns, are they more or less competitive?
Oh.
I played Thousand Suns a lot. I can say that I don't think they're less competitive in a way. I think we just haven't found the recipe yet. Next month, I will work hard to make them work, and we will see. I think they definitely got a nerfed, but I still think they're strong. Just got to find the right recipe. That's it.
You want to find the right recipe because they did get some cards that were pretty niftily buffed. I personally, I hope someone will prove me wrong. I believe it was a nerf overall. I believe that making some scrawny, low-cost Thousand Suns troops, giving them +1/+1 or +0/+1, is not going to be enough to compensate for losing Psyker 2. So I think, strictly speaking, they took a nerf. It's not as bad as a fucking club to the knee, but it's not great either. So hopefully somebody can come up with some cool stuff for them because I think they really, like Pirate, I do think they still have the potential. Like they're psychers, for God's sake. They have tons of value even with their non-psychic cards. So it is just a question of, and we already know that, for example, there's like the Warp Portal, Calmech Squad, Infinite combo with Bellic Ultazar. So you can there's still bullshit up there that there's Izakar or there's still so much bullshit you can get up to that they should be able to still be good. Maybe in ways we don't expect anymore. Like maybe someone needs to go out there and put Magistus Ammon to the test too. Probably die trying, but whatever. It's anybody's worth trying at this point because the card pool is really expanded. The warlords are just kind of shells to play Thousand Suns. Troops at this point now. They're not the one-stop powerhouses they used to be, which is sad, right? I think it does make them less powerful, but there's new ways to play them. The synergies, it's about finding it. And even Airmen, after Airmen was patched to receive Patterns of Fate, wasn't busted right away. It took Vapix grinding away at a very unique and novel deck concept to push War Master, right, and abuse Airmen who had been relegated to the dust, right? It took that before people really saw. That was one of the big ones, anyways. Before people really saw the value of a warlord like Airmen. So yeah, going into next season, especially with no new cards put into the pool, yeah, there's room for people to innovate and get up to some busted shit.
Just BS, by the way, boys. I'm sorry, LCFR, but Robber's Moon came out with the deck, and Vapix just played the shit out of it. Just not say you didn't know, but it is Robber's Moon idea. He went with the deck.
You washed my mouth with soap. Slap me in the face.
He's a great guy, dude. Great guy, great deck builder. He's the best.
I'm inspired to champion Amon up to top 50 next month now. Thanks for that.
Do it.
LCFR.
I knew you'd find a willing patsy somewhere to test that crap warlord.
Oh, it's going to be a fun month. Okay.
Are you guys looking forward to maybe testing out Phosis? Because out of the 3 warlords, he was actually the only one that got a buff. He had the initiation change from low to medium. I'm not sure if you guys know that, but
yeah, and there's obviously a place there now that you're going first to maybe get the jump on somebody and drop a auto buff Kazdrak with your barrier. That's pretty cool. And I mean, there's always
too, though. He would have been better with low initiative because knowing that when you always some of those low initiative warlords with counterattack in the game have actually a lot of added value because when you know that as a tendency you're going second, you basically you don't have a garbage reckoning that you never get to play all game. You get a free card. You get a free card that's free to play added to your hand that can flip shit upside down. So I think Phosis would have been better off. And that Thousand Suns counterattack is sweet too.
Honestly, boys,
so I think Phosis would have been better low.
Well, it also buffs the Slayer play.
No, Phosis the car is in the discussion only because of the Kazdrak bullshit demon. Because once they nerf that, he's just back to fuck all. That's it.
At the end of the day,
that's what's going to happen. He's not going to be played anymore. That's it.
Sorry.
And then the final question by Germany here. What faction do you think EG should give their attention to next?
The pretty boys in pink, Emperor's Children, straight up. Yeah, the Emperor's Children. Or they could further deliver the nerf bat to the knees of Night Houses and anything else that I think that's always more deserved. Just bring them further in line. Let troops flank attack them or shit. But no, positively, I would really love to see an Emperor's Children patch. That would be most ideal.
As for me, really, Runestorm needs some love. Because since their nerf in September 2020, it's almost been a year. they've been almost irrelevant. So really, just this faction doesn't even have access to neutrals except for chaos. So at least give them some love. Come on, man. Like, it's really useless faction. I played some Kabanda. Yeah, it works. It doesn't work. Mostly it doesn't work. It just needs something, man. Just come on. Actually, like I said earlier, well, nothing here, but EG should balance not one faction. They should balance like 120 cards, like at a month. That's it. I'm done.
I mean, I'm a little bit later to the party when I came in a little bit later than everybody else, but like, I'd love to see Salamanders maybe have something more since DD was nerfed. Vulcan is really relegated to mid range, but I want to see Cassian Vaughn and Nemator or Numion and Nemator. I want to see them have serious use other than niche plays that have to go off the right way. And in the same vein, Perdurabo's nerf, I'd love to see maybe a couple of tweaks to Iron Warriors. If I could field Forex in a high Terra deck again, I would be so happy. But I don't really know if they're going to do anything. It doesn't seem to be getting the loves from EG lately.
All right. This next part, we're going to ask some of the meme questions that I asked on Reddit, that I found on Reddit. So, Dosespun1 asks...
You're going to ask the meme questions. You asked if Night Lords needed a buff. I thought you had already started asking the meme questions.
No, but let's seriously, let's just go through these and see if we can have a good laugh. Yeah.
Let's go.
At what round should I just concede if I haven't killed Alpha Legionnaire?
Right.
First round. Easy like that, man. They're the Alpha Legion. They're already... Like, the Alpha Legion's your mom, it's your dad, and it's your grandfather, man. Just concede already. You're fucked.
You are also Alpha Legion, so the sooner you concede, the sooner you forward the goals of the Alpha Legion. Yeah. Remember, you are Alpharius.
I'm going to break the joke. I'll answer the question seriously. Play it to the very last turn, make them work for it. Yeah, they deserved it.
Grumpy's the good guy. He doesn't mean like
guess. I get no, not boring.
Triders and Terse asks, he has a unique question for each of you. Grumpy Ghostz, when will you join Screen's Blood Bowl League and show us that you are the master of all Warhammer-related games?
Yeah, they just need to show me how to play Blood Bowl. I mean, I've hopped in a few times. It looks like a great game. I have no idea what's going on with that at all. So yeah, just shout it out. I'll be around.
And LCFR, when will you continue our bromance?
First, the bromance never ended. In fact, it only grew stronger in my year-long absence last year. So yeah, it's still happening. We never broke up.
And Pirate, when will we do our drinking event?
Whenever the fuck you want, because I know when we won the fucking World Cup, man, that night I got fucked up again like usual. I don't remember shit, but we fucking won. So hey, man, I know I'm gonna fucking visit my friends LCFR and Shadow Slot, Grumpy Ghost maybe in the next couple of months. So if you want to go by and come see us, come fucking see us, man. Don't worry about it. We're party people here in Canada. Cheers, buddy.
It's not a long trip from Germany over here, so just kayak over. Come on.
And then the most cursed question of all, of course, from Taste for Hands. He asks, why do you guys think Chaos Spawn is the best warlord? And how do you feel about the conspiracy of his absence from the meta?
Okay. Am I going first? Okay, I'm going first.
Yeah, you're going first.
Chaos Spawn is trash. First of all, his fucking voice line sounds like he's getting fucked. And he's just 25 HP. He fucking sucks. Fuck him.
Fucking pirate.
Fuck him.
Fucking that sounds like that.
Fuck him. Okay, I'm done.
All right. I'm gonna be boring again. This isn't even a joke. This is not even a joke. Chaos Spawn can win tournaments, and we all know who I'm talking about. This is not a joke.
Yeah, no comment.
Wait, what's the question?
Chaos Spawn.
Why the reeing wonder isn't at the top? 50.
Oh, yeah.
And then the last pseudo question here is, and how Torgadon was left out yet again.
Honestly, I said that many times. All Torgadon needs, well, not all that. He needs his ability to be first 1 energy, but he needs a special card that turns him into the demon that he was into the heresy lore. Come on, man. Just give him a special card that turns him into the demon. That would be fucking
He needs the Tormageddon transformation. Yeah. Well, you know what? I mean, it was a long time ago, but Torgadon had his place in tournaments. I won the first Lodge Wars with Torgadon on my team. But like I said, that was a very long time ago. And Torgadon is not the man he used to be.
Yeah, you hold, man.
Long in the tooth.
Yeah. Oh, good shit. Well, yeah, that concludes it. I can say that I confidently asked every single question that people requested for this interview, so I'm happy.
Am I able to make like a quick shout out really quick?
Yeah, go for it.
Can I make a shout out to I'm not going to name any names because that could like maybe cause some conflicts, but a shout out to every single person aside from you kind gentlemen on my team and Shadow Sloth who helped me practice for this tournament. There were many of you, and I appreciate every single round you played with me. You all know who you are.
Any shout-outs from you, Pirate?
Listen, just I know the game's in a weird state right now, but let's just keep going, boys. We got a good thing going. It's fun. Let's keep going, keep the toxicity low, and just keep having a good time, eh? That's all I'm here for. A good time.
And Grumpy?
Grumpy already talked, bud.
Oh yeah.
Oh, LCFR.
I got mine out.
My bad.
Shout outs. Yeah, this is okay. This is a shout out to any Hydra agents who are listening. Longing, Rusted, Furnace, Daybreak, 17, Benign, 9, Homecoming, 1, Freight Car.
God damn.
No.
And that's why I went first.
Activate Alpha
That's why I
Legion.
went first.
Well, anyways, thank you all for joining me for this event. I hope you guys had fun. It was definitely a lot of fun for me learning about the insight of how you guys won this World Cup. You know, it's pretty fascinating stuff. So thank you for your time and wish you the best of luck in any future tournaments you play in.
Yeah, thanks for
Cheers.
having us.
Right on, buddy.
Ready to comply.